automation in large enterprise scale projects. Today I will show you how to do automation test integration from QACraft for Jira. Let's get started. At the level of each test plan in QACraft, we have a tab called QACraft Automation Test Runs. These settings are individual for each test plan, meaning that to each test plan, theoretically, you can connect automatic tests in any technology, testing completely different products from different ranges. In this tab, we configure the launch parameters. To run automated tests with QACraft plugin, we have to send a request with a data structure in JSON format, containing run parameters for a given test case to a selected test API address, waiting for our run request. At this point, we have created a sample test environment with a sample automated test on Jenkins, in which we use this open source generic web hub triggered plugin, which allows a selected job to be run in Jenkins using a request to an endpoint on the API, provided by Jenkins. Now, let's check how our environment looks like in Jenkins. Here's where we have our jobs defined. In the case of Jenkins, they are using the plugin I mentioned earlier, which you need to install beforehand and configure it appropriately. In our case, we use tokens. The tokens are one of the runtime parameters for a given test plan, so theoretically, you could assign each test plan a completely different job in Jenkins. Next, we give our username and password. Those are then sent in a form of basic out. Here, we select at the level of each test plan a folder-defined area in the QACraft configuration file where we keep the test scenario files. In our case, we use Cucumber. This folder is located on the machine where Jira is running. Synchronization is done using scripts that download files from the Git repositories. Now, let's see what to configure it on the test case level in given test plans. We go to the test suite. Here we can see 3 defined test cases in the test suite. 2 are marked as automatic and 1 is marked as a manual. For each test case which we want to use in an automatic test run, we have to change its type. Test case type. That is because, having for example defined a manual scenario in which we want to switch the test case to automatic, and instead of a view with a list of steps, we have the possibility of choosing any scenario from a folder, which we define aerial. If we choose that, its content will be displayed here. If we don't use Cucumber files with Gherkin, we can display any file here. Moreover, if we insist, we can fill this field with any string we can think of on the side of the machine, which will execute it. For example, a continuous integration server or some other system. We can define the string that is in this field, and it is one of the runtime parameters that go in the runtime request from JSON. We return to the test plan. At the test run tab level, we can also configure test ranking plates, which is used when we want to perform tests on a large numbers of test cases, and we do not want to select a separate group of cases from a large number of test cases each time. Of course, it can be added from this level. It can be given the status inactive. This will become invisible in search result. At this moment, we can make a new test run from this template if we want to. A linked issue is an issue key of an object to which we can connect an issue which is a result of a test run. If we take the client run, we have the possibility to supplement the summary field with any text that is to distinguish our run. We can also select the issue to which the resulting test run issue will be connected. Then we can select what we want to do with this test run, whether we only want to define a test run that has not been fired yet, or we fire it immediately or schedule its launch at any time in future. In our example, we'll create a sample test run which we don't want to be fired at the moment. Here we can use this template which we have created if we want to, or we can choose from a list of test cases which are to be executed. On this list, only test cases from a given test suite appear, which have the status set to automatic. Now we'll try to run our tests. First we will make a draft. If needed, this draft can be easily changed with an edit option. Change its test run status to run now, and we do an update. We can see that Jenkins has received a signal for the generic web hub trigger to run our test. Here we can see the content of the test run request for our continuous integration server. Exclusively for this case, we run Selenium grid on an external machine with Windows. Of course, as shown here, we have the test environment in a Docker container, except for this external Windows machine. Of course, if we want to, there is a possibility to run these tests in a Docker container in headless mode, in case we are only interested in testing on Chrome or Firefox. I can show you our Docker environment from the console at the moment, but for this we use Docker Compose tool. We can also move the whole test environment to the cloud, for example, in Kubernetes as we did on Google Cloud. Now, going to Details tab, we can watch the whole process of our run, including the process solving of test cases. All communication between QACraft and external CI server or other tool which executes tests is based on the REST API. We send the first run request and QACraft waits for answer on two endpoints. One on which it updates test cases statuses, and on second, it updates test run statuses. Additionally, at the end, a link is sent to the logs. In this case, in the environment we are working on, in the Docker container, we have a Webdav running to which we direct all our artifacts, which are collected in the test. At the end, QACraft gets information about where these logs are located, sent to the REST endpoint, so we can click on the link with the logs and see how the test run went. We collect the logs, and if something went wrong, we also collect error screens with the source of the page, and what is the most crucial, we collect documents which are generated in the system. It doesn't always have to be a Webdav. Here at the QACraft level, we accept only a link to this system, so it can be any system we have to use. In summary, the whole integration is based on the REST API, and it is done in a very easy and simple way. We integrate QACraft with any tool that allows to run tests via REST API. It can be Jenkins, Bamboo, GitLab, UiPath. All depend on the system we write, own and use. This is how the integration of automated tests in QACraft for Jira looks like.